Fellas, as you all know, the Found and Raid hideout changes has changed the flea market quite considerably. Now, maybe not as much as it could have in PvE, as most people already have their hideout done. However, it still affected it quite a bit. Today I'm going to be going over most of the items that it affected, whether it's bad or good. Now, there's a few things I want to preface before I start. This first one baffles me I have to even mention it, but I do sometimes because I get these comments quite often. Keep in mind that the flea market is a player-ran market 24/7, and that prices are liable to change. Any price that I mention or any price that you see in this video could fluctuate in the matter of seconds. Another thing I wanted to mention, there's a lot of items in this game, so inevitably, I'm probably going to miss a few. I have a bunch written down, but I still probably missed a few. Anyways, I think that's all I have to preface. The way I'm doing this is I'm going to be going over junk first. So let's head down to the junk boxes here and open the first one. So looking at this junk box here, the first few items I see that are not even worth looking at anymore is Crick Hens and WD-40. Now WD-40 has always been kind of bad, but it is even worse now. Let's check again. Yeah, 3K. That's probably one of the cheapest things on the market right now. Crick Hens down to 5 to 8K as well. Still, again with H matches, they are at 22K right now, but most of the time they're down at the 10K range. I won't mention a few of the obvious things like LED-X's, defibs, and O-scopes. They're obviously going to be worth money, so go ahead and pick those up. Now, as far as intel items are concerned, these are crazy right now. They've always been a little crazy, but the SMT in particular, up to 600 grand right now. S diaries are always good at 60, flash drives are pretty good right now at 50. And then SSDs and SASs are around the 100K mark every time I check, yeah. Now, I do have a few items listed in the meh category, which means kind of up to y'all if you want to pick them up or not. Usually around the 20K per slot, 15 to 20K per slot price range is what I'd consider a meh. But for now, I'm going to be focusing on the bad items. I say that, but I went over the good intel items here. But from now on, I'm going to be focusing on bad. Them scissors as well. They used to be around a 40K grab. Now they're down to 20. Again, it's a 10K per slot. If you're going for that, maybe you don't have a lot of money. Sure, pick it up. Sadly, the biggest downfall from Grace is the ES lamps from almost 100K to, you're seeing that there. Pretty bad. UV lamps have always been a pretty bad pickup. That hasn't changed. PCBs, they're okay right now, but they can get down to the almost 10K mark. So that's kind of a meh pickup. A couple more bad pickups here. Bleach, it's probably around 10K right now. It is. Sodium is sadly not really selling anymore. I think you can still do the IFAC craft for the sodium, but it is PvE, and who really needs a 300 health IFAC anymore? Soap, never really been worth anything. Hasn't changed. Red toothpaste sadly isn't worth a lot, even though I still think the craft is viable for the green, yeah. So this might be a good craft because green has always been good for the thick items barter. It is a bit low right now, but this can get easily into like hundreds of K whenever somebody buys themselves a thick items case. Another bag grab we have here is salt. Salt, again, used to be kind of worth picking up. Not anymore. Fleece, never really been good, but it's even worse now. Yeah, 6K. Chainlet's never been too good. Xenos and Shush have drastically dropped to, yeah, about 20K per, which might be a trader vendor price. Let's check it here. Yeah. So they're basically selling for vendor. That's less than 10K a slot, so not even worth grabbing. Not even thinking about it. Car batteries as well. They have gone down to less than 10K a slot. Packets of screws down to 6K. M parts, I think, are still worth grabbing. Yes, they're in that meh category yet again. But again, they've fallen from like 80K per easy. It's sad to see. See more bad items here. The alkali. Yep, down to 9K. The alkali has always been a tricky one. It used to be a sleeper pick sometimes. You could sell it for about 60K. Ripstop as well. Oh, Ripstop is good. Never mind, cut that. You got your AA batteries here, 8K. They've never really been too good. D-Cleaner has gone way down. Again, one of the cheapest things on market, and it's 2-slot. Don't even look at it. G-phones have not changed. However, they're still only worth about 12K to vendor. So do with that information what you will. Now again, this is one of the biggest falls from grace I've seen, but corrugated hoses, again, one of the cheapest items on market now. Corrugated hoses usually go, or used to go, for around 60 to 80K before the Found and Raid Hideout, but now there's not really a use for them. Let's see if there's even any barter. An HK barrel and a KS23. Yippee! There might be a craft for them, but I doubt it considering the price. Anyways, manuals. They've always been kind of hit or miss, but they're definitely a miss every time I check them now. I did want to briefly mention Nixors. Yeah, I said briefly mention because last time I checked these were around 15 grand, which you could still pick up. I definitely would not pick up Nixors as of this flea market though. See, one item I forgot to mention up here, CPU fans. We all know CPU fans used to be great, not anymore. Spark plugs, another bad grab as of lately. Now a big item that could mess you up if you grab it, PSUs. I grabbed this a few times in my last road to 1 billion and I quickly regretted it, as they are about 5K a slot. Quick mention of relays, down to 4K. And again, I'm probably missing a few items, but for the most part, those are the items that I've found that have drastically dropped in price and or just not worth picking up in general. Now let's move on to some items that really surprised me price-wise. So this didn't surprise me, even though I just said that, but med piles, they still are holding strong at around 45K. I think this is due to an item case barter. A couple cases actually. A couple other barters, ibuprofen, a couple keys. There's probably a few crafts in the hideout that it's used for as well, but we got a lot of items to cover here, so let's move on, shall we? This item did surprise me, however, the USB-As. I will say last time I checked this, these were around 40K. They're a lot lower right now, but I could see them easily rising to 40K yet again. The barters don't seem too crazy, but there's probably a hideout craft that crafts something even more value. That's kind of how the flea market has changed for the Found and Raid Hideout, because if y'all are not aware, any item that you craft in Hideout is considered Found and Raid. So if you do need some Found and Raid Hideout items, you can craft them. Like for example here, power cord. You gotta have them Found and Raid to craft things, but you can buy these off of Flea and just craft them there. Magnets have stayed good at around 60K. They're a little lower right now, but again, market be changing. Tool sets have also held strong. They're around 80K last time I checked, and they've stayed around it. You could probably get around 90, 94K for that one though. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is a completely new item. If I can find it. Okay, I couldn't find it, so I just looked it up on Flea. The broken GPX smartphone. Now this is not to be confused with the broken G phone smartphone, because again, this is not worth that much. However, the GPX is worth 50K every time I've checked around there. Something that has held strong, and if not even stronger, the broken LCDs are around 90 to 100K right now. You probably get even more than the 100K there as well. About it, the most expensive I've seen them, but every time I check, they seem to go up. Another item that came back way stronger than it was before, helixes. This is the highest price I've ever seen them. However, even at half this, which I usually see them at, way worth grabbing. One slot for that much rubles. Come on. Yet again, another item that has come back even stronger. Electrical components. These used to be just a straight sell to therapist for around 12K, but now save them for Flea. Yet again, another item. We have our yellow pliers. Last time I checked, these were around 60K. They're even more now. Moving on, we have some RAM. This hasn't gone up a crazy amount, but again, still worth grabbing. It held out strong. The screwdriver with red handle is crazy as well. I think most of the screwdrivers are really worth grabbing right now, and I think that's because of a lot of hideout crafts need screwdrivers, but there could be a whole slew of other reasons it's up right now. The gray handle screwdriver, it's okay. It was up a bit more last time I checked. Yeah, last time I checked it was around 30K, but again, it can still get back up to that pretty easily. I wanted to bring these together for one little section here. All of the gunpowders are well worth grabbing now. The cheapest being the blue one, Kite, equals up to around 100, and then I've always seen a Hawk over 100. So always pick up your gunpowder. GM counts used to be hit or miss, and now they're just straight hit. 60 grand right now. Uses can fluctuate quite a bit. I did check these at around 40k. Obviously they're down to 20 right now. I would pick these up because even at lowest, which is around 20, it's still kind of worth grabbing. Nuts and bolts have held true to their prices for the most part. One of the most surprising items to me, which one of y'all left a comment correcting me, which I appreciate, is the TP200, which again used to be a straight sell to therapist for 22k, but now they are easily over 100, into the mid 100s. Another item that kind of surprised me is clocks. Used to be a straight vendor to therapist, but now you could sell them for around 80k. D batteries have kind of held strong. I've seen these at around 40k, so again, 20 to 40k range. There's a few items that kind of do that. I'd still pick them up. Horses seem to kind of consistently go for 40. Military flash drives and power banks think held true. I don't know exactly what their prices were before the patch. They're both sitting at around mid 100 grand. Military flash drives even being at 200 grand right now. These air filters pretty much stayed the same. Mid 100 grand yet again. Pick that thing up. Caps yet again. One of those items that's the 20 to 40k price range. Let me check just to make sure. Yep, exactly, 30k. Now we got our construction tape and our regular duct tape, sorry, insulating tape. Your insulating tape, I've always seen fluctuate. I've always seen around the 100 grand mark. However, duct tape in itself is a little less. I say a little, but again, it's one of those items in the 20 to 40k range. Another item that kind of surprised me on their price is repellent. Last time I checked, it was around 50k. You can get even more for it right now. There's not a lot on market, and I think that's because repellent has never really been an item worth picking up until now. Nails, kind of in that 20 to 40k. However, I think it's more in the 40 to 60k range, even though it's less than that right now. Slightly more worth than the other items I've mentioned. Blood sets, however, are in that 20 to 40k range. I don't even need to check that. We got measuring construction tape up next. I've never really seen these go above 30 as of lately. So again, pick this up if you want. I'm gonna let y'all decide on that one. Bundles of wire, another item in that 20 to 40k range, as well as our matches here. They're really low right now, but that's because people are just undercutting like crazy. As you can see on the first page alone, it goes up to 40 yet again. Our electrical motors have stayed strong. They're around that mid 100k price range. Medical tools in that 20 to 40k range, as well as Zibbos. And then last thing I wanted to mention is buckwheat. Buckwheat seems to be kind of worth grabbing right now. Again, not a lot on market, because people normally don't pick it up. All right, and that does it for the good junk items. Again, I skipped over a lot. I missed a lot of items, but it's fine. You're not going to remember all this anyway. Quickly, I wanted to go over junk items that I've listed for the meh category. It's up to you if you want to pick it up. Depends on how broke you are. First up, we have our Serve L, usually around 25k. DVD drives are around 30k usually. T-plugs 20k. An item that kind of surprised me going from never pick up to maybe gas analyzers. I've never seen them above 20k, so you decide. Wrenches are about that 20k mark, usually more on the lower half though, even reaching down to 10k sometimes. It pains me to say this, but golden neck chains, I think they vendor for a little over 20k. They do, so it's still kind of worth grabbing a 24k vendor. However, it never really goes above that in Flea anymore. M parts, again, like I mentioned earlier, on that lower half at the 20k mark. This is a weird one to me, but M tubes always been around 15k every time I check, and they vendor for that much. Also wanted to mention our HDDs here. These used to be hit or miss. However, they're around 25 to 30k now. Shampoo kind of surprised me. It's kind of gone up in price, but it's a 2-slot item for around 25 to 30k. Silicone tubes, they can go for around 20, but usually on the lower side, 15 to 20. So this is kind of our main event. I wouldn't say main event, but most of the food items have drastically increased in price, and I'd love to go over a few of those with y'all. Something that has always sold good and will continue selling good is the white bag of rye croutons. You need them for making small tushonka in the hideout for the quest. I'm sure they're used for a few other things, but that is all I know they're used for. Cans of peas are selling for, okay, they're a little less now, but last time I checked, they were 40K. These seem to have not changed that much though. Squash has also not changed that much, but it's a good thing because they've always been a good grab. Chocolate bars, as you all know, always a good grab. They are getting a lot cheaper. I think that's due to the multiple events where it just kind of threw chocolate bars at us, like the Halloween pumpkin event. Same with sugar. Sugar's around 50K right now, which is a lot lower than it usually is. But another item that surprised me here is Tarkov. 60 to 80K I can usually find it at. Aquamari is selling for around 50K. It is a lot less now. 50K is probably a tiny bit of a stretch, but 30K for an Aquamari, not horrible. Your emergency water rations have always sold well. They're around 25 grand and they'll probably stay that way. Hot rounds are around 50 grand. It is one of the items you need for the Hedolnik trade-ins. These things, Holodilnik or whatever, as well as the Tarcola and the Squash. That's why they're kind of all going for that much. Let me make sure. Hot Rod, Tarcola, herring, and squash. We brought it up, so we might as well get a herring. Herring out of all these, by far, has had the biggest change. I don't have any because I sold them all. Okay, they're a lot less right now, but when the change first came out, when the patch first came out, herrings were consistently above 100 grand. Still, they're worth grabbing. Whiskey is good. It'll always be good. It's around 60K last time I checked. Let's make sure it stayed. 60 to 70, that's about right. Another item that greatly surprised me, these used to never be worth picking up, but now they're around 25 to 30K. Go ahead and pick yourself up a Slicker. Surprisingly enough, Rat Cola is about on par with Tushonka, large Tushonka at the moment. I think the small Tushonka is slightly less expensive than the large, but both of these go for around 22K usually. Keeping at our 22K mark, Humpback usually sells for around that as well. Oat flakes are incredibly hit or miss for whatever reason, kind of always worth picking up. They don't sell that fast, however, they always sell for around 20K per slot. Iskras you can always get a minimum of 24K for, selling under trader, but again, you could get even more selling above. Kvass is kind of hit or miss. I wouldn't pick it up. Usually on the miss side. Max Energy is okay right now. It's usually around that 25K mark like it is now. I usually pick it up. One more item I wanted to mention that's not down here is MREs. They'll always kind of sell good, slightly better after patch for whatever reason, but always pick yourself up an MRE. Now I have one food item listed as bad for selling. Let's see if I have it here. Here we go. The ice green tea. RIP my boy. He's used for the director's office key trade at the beginning of wipe, and then he's forgotten about. Now there is one last food category I want to go over, and that's the meh category. As you know, these are items that are give or take. I did do a medical category after this, but pretty much every single medical item's worth picking up. I'm not gonna do it. Crackers and sorry, always under 20K. Sure, they could reach above it. Again, it's a player ran market. Anything could theoretically happen. I'm just telling you what most likely happens. These are not going to reach above 20. They're above 20. All right. You get it though. All right. They're usually not. Kansas Sprats. These are hit or miss throughout every patch that they do. You can kind of, again, you can kind of see why I put these in the meh category, because I'm kind of unsure myself. Condensed milk around that 20K mark yet again. Pevco is around 15K per slot. So 30 total. Milk, slightly above that 30 mark. You'd probably get away with selling it slightly more expensive, but it might be there for a while. Like I mentioned, small cans of Tushonka, usually under that 20K mark. Parker beef is around that 15 to 20K mark. And Emilia Rise, you can sell straight under trade. They did bump this trader price. It used to be 14K, but now it is 16 for whatever reason. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Anyways, if you made it to the end of this video, you either left it on, you're really willing to learn, or you like my vids, which shout out to all of y'all. No matter what you're here for, I appreciate you. Anyways, I could sit here for another 10 minutes and yap some more in the outro, but that's gonna do it for me. Let me know what y'all think of the Found and Raid hideout change and the flea market change for PvP. I heard they're extending it. Kinda crazy, you know? I mean, I heard a lot of people want that. I don't mind it. It's kind of whatever for me. As always, thank you for joining me again.